All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to demystify two of the biggest fields in tech, cloud security and cybersecurity. Now, they sound almost the same, right? But knowing the difference is absolutely key, not just for protecting our digital world, but maybe even for launching your next career move. So let's get into it.
So, I want you to think about it like this. Cybersecurity, that's the master security plan for an entire city. It covers everything: the streets, the power grid, all the physical buildings. Cloud security, though, that's the specialized SWAT team that protects just the high-tech skyscrapers. They're not just guarding the front door, no. They're managing who gets on every single floor, making sure the building structure is sound, and protecting all the valuable stuff inside those specific cloud environments. And that's where all our most important data lives now.
So what's the actual challenge on the ground? Well, a recent survey of over 700 security pros found something pretty surprising. Their number one worry isn't some super sophisticated hacker in a dark room. It's misconfigurations. Yeah, you see that right. At 44%, the biggest threat is often just simple human error, someone setting up the cloud the wrong way.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the basics. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty differences between cloud and cyber. After that, we'll bust some common myths, talk about what it all means for your career, and then we'll wrap up by looking at where the whole industry is going.
First up, let's lay the groundwork. Who are these guardians of our digital universe, and what exactly are they trying to protect?
So cybersecurity is the big umbrella. It's the art and science of protecting literally everything digital. We're talking about the phone in your hand, the servers in a company's own data center, and the huge networks that connect us all. It's really the foundation of all digital defense.
And that brings us to the main event. If cybersecurity is supposed to cover everything, then what in the world is cloud security, and how is it really any different? Let's break it down.
Cybersecurity is kind of like the whole fortress, right? It's responsible for the entire kingdom with big walls and guards at the perimeter. Cloud security, on the other hand, is the specialist. It's the elite force with a very specific skill set laser-focused on protecting the crown jewels inside those dynamic, ever-changing cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Now, if we zoom in, you start to see some really crucial differences. Take a look at responsibility. With traditional cybersecurity, your company's team manages everything. But in the cloud, that security is shared with your provider. The way you pay for it also completely changes. You go from buying massive, expensive hardware upfront to a much more flexible subscription. And trust me, these aren't just tiny details. They change the entire way a business has to think about security.
Okay, and this leads us to what is probably the single most important idea in all of cloud security: the shared responsibility model. The provider, think Amazon or Microsoft, is responsible for the security of the cloud. That means the physical buildings, the servers, the cooling, the core network. But you, the customer, are responsible for security in the cloud. That's your data, your apps, and most importantly, your configurations. You absolutely cannot just outsource all of your security.
All right, you ready for a quick rapid-fire round? Let's bust some of the most common and frankly dangerous myths that are still floating around out there about cloud security.
You hear this one all the time, right? This idea that just by putting your data on someone else's computer, you're automatically taking a huge risk. But is that actually true? The real story is the cloud itself is not the problem. I mean, think about it. Major providers like AWS and Microsoft have security budgets and expert teams that are way bigger than what most companies could ever dream of. The real danger, just like we saw in that first chart, is misconfiguration. It's the digital equivalent of leaving the front door wide open.
This one makes the whole field feel really intimidating. We get this picture in our heads of these genius hackers writing incredibly complex code to break through walls of defense.
But the reality is actually much simpler. And in a weird way, it's kind of empowering. Most successful hacks aren't that sophisticated at all. They just take advantage of the basics: a weak password, someone clicking a bad link in an email, or a simple setting that was overlooked. What that means is that getting the fundamentals right is your absolute best defense. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now let's talk about the how. How do you actually take this information and turn it into a career? I really love this quote from a Reddit discussion because it just nails a feeling that a lot of pros have. Breaking into pure cybersecurity can be tough. It often requires years of other IT experience first. But the cloud? It's newer, it's growing like crazy, and that can sometimes create more direct pathways in, which you can then use to pivot into a cloud security role. So here's a pretty clear path to follow. And look, it's not about trying to jump straight to the top.
It starts with building that solid IT foundation. Then you get some hands-on experience in a role like IT support or as a systems admin. From there, you start grabbing those key certifications, and then you specialize in the cloud platform you really want to master. It's a journey.
And speaking of certifications, these are some of the heavy hitters that really get a recruiter's attention. You've got the specialty certs for the big three, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, that show you know a specific platform inside and out. And then you have the more advanced vendor-neutral certs, like the CCSP, which prove your expertise across the whole cloud security world.
All right, for our last part, let's zoom the camera all the way back out and take a look at the state of the industry. Where is all this actually heading?
And this chart, wow, this should get you really excited. A massive 64% of companies say they are still in the early stages of moving to the cloud. Only 20% feel like they're fully there. This isn't a field that's slowing down. It's still in its explosive growth phase, and that means a huge, huge demand for new talent.
This quote from an industry expert really hits on why that demand is so high. See, the cloud isn't just a different place to store stuff. It's a totally new way of doing things. It's dynamic, it's complex, it's always changing. And that complexity means you need specialists who actually know how to handle it.
So if you only take one thing away from our time together, let it be this. Cybersecurity is the essential foundation you have to build on. But cloud security, that's the high-growth, high-demand specialization where the future is really happening. The best pros out there, they don't even see them as separate things anymore, but as a seamless blend of skills.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. More and more of our world, our economy, how we talk to each other, our everyday lives, it all runs on the cloud. The only question left is, who's going to step up to protect it? Thanks so much for watching.